Oh, come now, Aloysius says as he shakes his head. You're not even a little excited to see me? Not after what you did to me last time we met, no, I say as I shake my head from side to side. Not only did you drag me into the other world, but you also violated my memories. Those were private, and you had no business going inside my head without my permission. I apologize, he says simply, bowing a bit. I do admit that it was beneath me to treat you so uncivilly. However, I was desperate to see my son again. You can understand a father's plight, can't you? A father's, maybe, I reply coldly. But you're no father to Hieronymous. He's already assured me that we would never meet again. And yet, Aloysius gestures to the air around him. Here we are. Here we are, I repeat. I have a party I should be getting back to, but I don't suppose you'll let me leave until I listen to what you have to say. Isn't that right? You and my son are so much alike, Aloysius says with a laugh. You know, I heard what they said back there. When I saw her drag you into the den of lions, I couldn't help but listen in. You handled yourself well in there. I'm trying to figure out a way to tell him that I don't need his approval, but I come up short and move on. Friends of yours? Most certainly not. Aloysius's friendly demeanor falls, and for a moment I get a real look at Mr. Grabiner, Sr. Those fools would seek to replace Potsdam the first chance they got. They don't know how hard she's been working to keep that school afloat all of these years. She's been doing it by serving your interests, I say levelly, and Aloysius just raises an eyebrow at me. It reminds me of the way Hieronymous does it, and I quickly banish that thought from my mind as I continue. It's no secret that Iris Academy is the most European of all the American schools. The people in there that you don't get along with, they're all American. You're not. Call it culture shock, but maybe they don't like what she's doing because she's working for your European interests, not their American ones. That's a very astute analysis, Aloysius continues. Have you discussed this at length with Hieronymous? No, not at all, I say simply. I didn't know until tonight that they wanted Hieronymous to take over for her. Aloysius shakes his head. Over my dead body, he mutters, and I bite back a sarcastic statement. That'll never happen. No, I hope it doesn't, I agree. He's already explained you have a timeline mapped out for our future, but I think you already know by now that Hieronymous is going to do things according to his own schedule. He's staying at Iris until I graduate in 2 years, and then we'll decide from there. Tori. Aloysius puts his hands behind his back as he begins to pace. I know that I might have ruined my chance to have us on civil terms due to my outburst when we last met, but I want you to know that I really do want the best for you and Hieronymous. If he was to take over my seat, you would want for nothing. You would live on an estate far greater than any you could ever hope to dream of. It's nothing I've ever aspired to, I say simply as I drop my hands on my sides, and Aloysius surveys me suspiciously for a moment. You really do mean that, don't you? He asks. The money, the power. It doesn't make a lick of difference to you, does it? I'm with Hieronymous because I am actually in love with Hieronymous, I remind him. I thought you liked that about me. Yes, Aloysius says, as if he's remembering. Yes, Potsdam did pick particularly well, didn't she? I had been waiting for this line of inquiry to come up again, and now that it did, I wasn't holding back. You mentioned that last time, too. What does Potsdam have to do with anything? Who do you think arranged the marriage? Aloysius asks. For a moment, I'm about to say that obviously Potsdam coordinated the marriage. She officiated the ceremony, but suddenly something else strikes me. You're saying it wasn't an accident, I say slowly. You're saying that Hieronymous was just bait in a trap that Potsdam set, waiting for a student to come along so that he could be forced to marry them. Archaic rules, but a viscount does need a viscountess to run the estate, Aloysius says. I remember this line of conversation. It was one that I had with Hieronymous when I asked him if he would ever go back to England without me, and he assured me that he wouldn't. Is that even true? I asked skeptically. How would she know that I would have been the first one in the mailroom that day? It could have been anyone else. That's true, Aloysius continues. I know that Petunia had already floated several names past me. I thought she had settled on Minnie Cochran. Her parents are devoted public servants here in the States, and apparently she's the quiet, bookish type. Potsdam thought she would make a perfect subservient wife for my son. Who knew that a rough-around-the-edges wild seed like you was exactly what he needed? I feel like I've been slapped in the face. My irrational jealousy towards Minnie might not have stemmed out of nowhere, did it? Is that why Potsdam cast the magic affection spell on us before Christmas time? To see who Hieronymous was thinking of? He had been thinking about me, of course, and then only 2 weeks after I returned from break, I found him on the mailroom floor. I still had never asked him what he was doing there, or why he would be playing with complicated magic in such a public location. Did he know that it was a trap? How much of this does Hieronymous know? I asked softly. He has his suspicions, Aloysius says as he claps his hands together. The boy was, is, and always has been, suspicious of me and my motives. It's like he doesn't think I want the best for him. Do you, though? I ask flatly as I raise an eyebrow. You wanted him to marry anyone, just so he could take up your seat. I can tell you right now that if he had been married to Minnie, that severance would have happened immediately after the year and the day was up. It's possible, Aloysius says. It was a gesture to push him in the right direction. I couldn't gift him Vervain College until he'd actually made his vows. You did receive my gift, didn't you? I remember my freshman year when I had received a parcel addressed to Mrs. Grabiner. I had opened it and read the letter from Aloysius, but left the other small box alone. I had immediately given it to Hieronymous, who gave me 5 merits to reward me for not snooping. It wasn't until much later that I realized that the box was actually a portkey enclosed with a deed to Vervain College, and messing with it would have dragged me straight into the other world. Of course I did, I say simply, but after last time, Hieronymous doesn't really want any more presents from you. That's what he wants, Aloysius says, and this is what I want. I'm a powerful man, Tori. I have powerful allies. I heard what you said about catching more flies with honey than vinegar, and that's the approach I'm trying to take with you now. When you graduate, I want you to tell Hieronymous that you want to go to England. I want you to tell him to actually give this a chance. He will listen to you. There's not a doubt in my mind that he will. If you're such a powerful man, I'm not sure why you're hiding in a greenhouse trying to intimidate a teenage girl, I tell him, and Aloysius chuckles heartily at this. You truly are a fearless creature, aren't you? He asks. I want my line to continue. Maybe it's selfish to ask my son to devote himself to the same pursuit, but he is my only heir. There is a great deal you don't know about the noble families, Tori. Hopefully you too will have more sons, and they will get a choice to do what they desire with their lives, but to ensure our position in the magical world, we need our name to live on. I nod along in time to his words. There is something convincing about what he has to say to me. It sounds like there is an element of truth to it, and moving to England and giving that lifestyle a chance suddenly seemed like a far better alternative than having Hieronymous take over Iris Academy. All right, I say simply. That's a fair request. I can't order Hieronymous to move to England after I graduate, but I can propose it as an alternative. And I can tell him that I'm in favor of it as long as he is still open to it. Aloysius grins, and I can't help but think he almost looks a bit relieved. That is all I'm asking of you, Tori. Now, that being said, I've taken up far too much of your time. It seems your friend Virginia is currently in the kitchen. She doesn't look like she's leaving anytime soon. You'll probably find her there. I don't know how he knows this, but he did say he was powerful and his magic was much more advanced than mine was. But was he stronger than Hieronymous? That was the real question. Oh, and Tori, he says as he turns back to me, I wasn't here. Understood? I hesitate for a moment. I could read between the lines. He didn't want me to tell Hieronymous that we had this conversation. Understood, I say with some finality. Good, he says as he forces a tight-lipped smile in my direction. And if you ever have any need, don't be afraid to call on me. I know he's given you one of our magical letter boxes. Quite handy, aren't they? He opens up the door and steps out before he turns back to me a final time. Oh, and do give Daniel Callister my regards. His parents are quite worried about how their son will take to American life, but I've assured him that they have the perfect socialite at their disposal. Wait, what? How does he know about that? I rush outside after him and scan the darkness, but it's too late. He's already gone.